Well, they did a lot of what you might call human experimentation, and they had a lot of research protocols going on. So one thing I did was to supervise the research going on. I was teaching the younger trainers and head trainers how to do things more efficiently, how to do their job well, but also reviewing their research reports for errors or problems. Eventually, I became kind of a consultant. If a problem occurred, or if they didn't know how to install something, or if they needed assistance, I would help them with problem solving as well.
Okay, Svali, I'm going to have to take a break. We'll be back in 3 minutes. We'll continue on the Republic Broadcasting Network. Okay, we're back on the Investigative Journal. I got a short 4-minute segment here, then we'll take a break and come back with Svali for a whole nother hour. We're talking about some of the jobs in the Illuminati, the practical daily jobs that these members of this group who are infiltrated in America heavily take what they do. Now, one thing I find interesting, Svali, is, in the media, I'm not going to name names or anything else. I don't have any specific information, but I find it interesting doing some background checks, and a lot of the top media people in our country, they all come from these very wealthy families. And, that's not the typical MO for a journalist. A journalist is somebody, grows up on the street, wants to talk to people. I mean, I can think of Jimmy Breslin, guys who never went to college, didn't know how to type, and just got in there and took their tie off and started writing stories. But, as you look at the media now, these are all these silver spoon kids growing up with silver spoons. I find that quite interesting. How deeply infiltrated, from your knowledge, are they in our media?
Wow. I do know fairly deeply. I remember that when I was in San Diego, on Leadership Council during meetings, they would laugh about how people had no idea of how much they were being influenced and didn't even know it. They found that kind of amusing, which is, that's the mindset of people in the group. They're like, the sheep has no idea that they're being led by the moon. And they find it amusing because they show it as evidence of this. I'm sorry, I'm just describing what they say. I don't agree with it now, but they saw it as evidence of the stupidity of the average person, that they have no idea. I'm not saying that every news story or every newscast story is a member of the group, by no means. But they specifically do teach and train and educate children that show an aptitude for the media, because they want that. And if a person has a bright, charismatic personality and presents well, then that's just that child will go into that if they have the verbal communication and other skills required.
Correct, and that could explain why a lot of our stories really never get covered outside of the influence they have financially and the ownership of the media.
Absolutely not by coincidence.
What's that?
Not at all a coincidence.
Yeah, so that's a good idea why, folks, you're not getting the news from those outlets. We have, not only in our government, it explains, a lot of things. Why? Look at the war in Iraq. Look at the evidence there that shows that it was wrong. Look at what they're doing in Iran right now. It's incredible. All this stuff. It's pretty obvious, people. There's something behind it. Svali is here trying to explain this organization from her knowledge, and it's quite a story. I know this idea, you were involved as a trainer of mind programming. This is just, I'm looking at some of the chapters in a book you have yet to publish. We're talking about brainwave, color control, metal, jewel programming linked to stories and movies. It goes suicidal program. In just a minute here before our break, can you kind of break down what you learned about the importance? We got to take a break, Svali. Sorry. We're going to do that quickly. Then we'll get back to you. We're talking to Svali regarding her role as a head trainer in the Illuminati and the American Illuminati. We'll be back on the Republic Broadcasting Network in 2 minutes. Okay, we're back on the Investigative Journal. One more hour. We're talking to Svali, and she was a head trainer in the Illuminati. Svali, what type of programming do they actually teach you, and how do you learn these different techniques?
Well, you're taught from childhood on. My training in how to be a programmer was very young. I was mentored by another programmer at the age of 5 by a doctor at George Washington University, and he not only did he do the programming on me, but he also taught me how to do it to others. The types of programming, again, that could be a whole 10-hour segment to go into depth. Just briefly, from the time a child's an infant, all through their life, basically, they're tested, they're profiled. The trainers can create a psychological profile, and then they update it frequently. And basically, they're trying to install in the child the ability to obey, loyalty to the group, and the ability to do their job within the group. Now, those jobs vary in complexity. I mean, you may have, on one side, a child trained to be a prostitute. On the other end, you may have a child trained to become a governmental figure, which is a lot more complex programming. But as long as the loyalty to the group is instilled first, and that's the first and foremost programming always installed, then no matter what their eventual role is, they will remain loyal, and that becomes their first loyalty. Whatever nation, whatever their public role in life is, their first and foremost loyalty will be to the group and to serve its goals. Whether they know, a lot of times the goal there too is to be able to help the child create that complete division between their day role and their night role. So a pleasant, charming, wonderful, kind person in the daytime could be an absolutely cold, ruthless person at night or during the day. It's also during the day they do it. You may have a housewife with children who goes out and completes a courier job for the group, and no one would ever suspect her. This frumpy-looking little housewife with a baby in a car seat is actually carrying some valuable documents. Or, again, the first and foremost, though, is they want to instill loyalty, and they want to discourage people from questioning orders. They really don't want you questioning that, and they want you to obey their directives. And should people show signs of not doing that, then they go in for tips. Actually, people are being programmed all through their life. We used to call them tune-ups, and it's a lifelong process for members of the group.
So, we have a minute here before our break, and then we'll get back and get in depth in some of these areas. But what went wrong with you? I mean, the dropout rate probably is very low, considering the training. But what went wrong with you? They somehow missed something.
When I was very young, I absolutely believed in the goals of it. You never saw a more loyal group member. I thought that they were saving the world. I thought that we were doing a wonderful thing. But the older I got, I started to see the methods that were being used were so wrong, and that the end did not justify the means. I became increasingly cynical, partly because I saw what I was doing to people.